Hey guys, that mom here. So we had our first mini medical emergency to deal with, and I just have to tell you guys about it. So when I say little medical emergency, I really do mean it. It was nothing major, but for me at the time it was major. And I think that's probably because one of my biggest fears when I thought about having kids was the day one of my kids were to get hurt. Obviously, all moms feel that way. No one wants to see their kids get hurt. But for me, I do not deal well with seeing anyone hurt. I can't stand the sight of blood. I just don't really deal with trauma very well. So it's exceptionally challenging for me. So last night was kind of a big deal. While it might be a little controversial, we decided to pierce Q's ears. I did this because for me, when I pierced my ears at the age of, I think it was 10, it was really, really traumatic. I knew that I wanted it done, but the thought of having someone poke a hole in me scared the crap out of me. Everything about it was terrifying. And I knew that if I ever had a little girl, I was going to do it while she was a baby, and didn't know to be scared, didn't know that it's something that she could be traumatized about. And who wouldn't really remember the whole experience. So I decided to pierce Q's ears. And honestly, I'm really, really happy that I did. It worked exactly as I had planned. She didn't mind at all. The worst part for her was when the nurses had to hold her just to measure where to put the mark. She is, in that age where she has a little bit of stranger danger going. So she didn't really like the nurses to hold her just to measure. And they weren't even hurting her. They literally marked her with a marker, and that was it. And that was the most traumatic part for her. So I knew I had done the right thing. She didn't really notice or seem to care about getting her ears pierced. We did it at the pediatrician's office. My pediatrician okayed it. They put a numbing agent on, let it sit for about 30 minutes. So I really don't think she felt a thing. She never even whimpered or grimaced or anything. Any of the times I cleaned them or I would have to turn them, it's as if she had her ears pierced in the womb. So I was really, really thrilled that we did it when we did. And everything was great. Of course, the 6-week mark hits, and this is probably where I made a foolish decision. I decided I wanted to change her earrings for a couple of reasons. One, the piercing studs were kind of big, and every time I would get her dressed, her shirt would kind of pull. I'd have to be really careful because they were pretty big. But additionally, the back of those piercing studs is really sharp, and Q has gotten to the age where she likes to roll onto her side to sleep, and I always felt bad that it was like poking her in the head. I know I hate that feeling, and my earrings aren't sharp. I can only imagine what it feels like with a sharp needle poking, in your head. So I really wanted to change it. I had been doing research, and I found these tiny, tiny little hoops. They really just hug the earlobe, and I figured that would be great. They're too small. Like I said, they hug the earlobe for her to be able to, rip them out or it to get caught in anything. But additionally, they would be smooth, so I wouldn't have to worry about them poking her in the back of the head or getting caught on things because it's just a smooth circle. So I was like, this is the way to go. And plus, they were super, super cute. So I was really, really excited. And the 6-week mark happened to land on her 6-month birthday. So I was super, super stoked. Like, we could celebrate her half birthday. She could get new earrings. I got a matching mommy pair because, hello, I'm that mom. And I was really excited about all of it. It was great. Changing the earrings was no problem at all. Took the old ones out, cleaned the ears with alcohol. I sterilized and cleaned the new earrings, popped them right in. It was a breeze and life was great. Well, probably about a week after having the hoops in, I started to notice they would come unlatched really easily. Like while she was playing and stuff, I'd look over and it'd be dangling open. I'd be like, crap. I would just go over and close it and think nothing of it. Well, then it happened in the middle of the night. So I went in to nurse her, and while I was nursing her, Q likes to play with the side of her hair when she's sleepy. She was playing with her hair like she always does, and the hair little bink. And I look, and the earring had fallen out and had fallen into her bucket of books. So I scrambled to find the earring, sterilize the earring, clean the ear, get it in, only to flip her over to nurse on the other side and discover that earring is missing, and I have no idea how long that one's been out. I search the crib, I find it, and now this one I'm having a harder time getting in. And I'm terrified because it's only been about 7 weeks at this point since she had gotten her ears pierced. Could the back of it close? I'm kind of futzing around with it a bit, and eventually it went in. I think I just wasn't really getting it lined up with the piercing canal. So once I found it, it went in and everything was fine. I called the pediatrician's office the next day just to see if there were any proactive measures I should do to make sure that it doesn't get infected, seeing how I kind of did have to mess around with it. They said just to clean it with antibacterial soap, clean it with alcohol, and just keep an eye on it. So we did that, and I figured everything would be fine, but I knew I wanted to change those earrings. I didn't want to risk having it happen again. So went, got new earrings, just little studs with backings that stay on really good, and changed out the earrings, and life has been great for about a week. You know, I clean them, I keep an eye on them and everything. Well then, not last night, but the night before, I cleaned Q's ears, I cleaned them with alcohol right before bed, and I put her to bed, and everything is fine. Normally Q doesn't wake up until maybe about 1 or 2 for a late night feeding, but this night she woke up at 10:30, which is really unlike her. So I knew she didn't need to eat, shouldn't need anything, so I just went in, checked on her, was rubbing her back to soothe her, figuring she would just go right back to sleep, because she never wakes up at this time. And when I went to go brush her hair back to relax her, I noticed her hair is like stuck to the back of her earring. She has exceptionally long hair for being as young as she is. And I couldn't really quite figure out why, because it's dark in the nursery, so I gently get the hair off the back of the earring. I can't really see anything in the dim light of the nightlight, so I don't think anything of it. Pick her up, soothe her, put her back down on her back, and I see she has something on her face. So I take her back out, I put on this little like 15-watt light that we have to see what is on her face, and I can't really tell what it is. I clean off her face, I double check her ears again, because something was telling me like, could this be blood? But I didn't see any blood. I look in the crib, I see no blood in the crib, so I put her back down, I figure everything is fine. But when she's not settling, which is really unlike her, I was like, let me check those ears again. And this time I took the good flashlight on my phone and I looked, and sure enough, the back of one of her ears is all bloody. Don't ask me how I missed it the first 3 times. I start to panic. Like, not only is there blood, which I'm not a big fan of, but my baby is bleeding. And I panic, I call Daddy in, he comes rushing in. At this point I turn on all the lights. I realize it's only 11 and this is totally gonna wake her up, but I don't even care. I just wanna check on her. So I go to nurse her, because it's the easiest way for me to look at her ears while she's entertained. And I managed to get the earring out, but it is just like the back of her ear is just covered in blood. I look, it doesn't look like it had ripped or anything. I really have no idea why this is. Daddy goes off to clean the earrings and sterilize the earrings. I'm using alcohol to clean the ear, and when I go to put the earring back in, blood comes out of the back of the hole. And now at this point, my hands start shaking. I'm just like, oh my God, blood just came pouring out of my kid's ear. So I'm cleaning it with alcohol, and this is when I can feel there's like a little bump in the back of the earring hole. And I was just like, oh no, it got infected. I have no idea how it got infected because I wash it all the time, but I'm just panicking. So I know I have to get the earring back in or else the hole will close. And I really didn't want the hole to close while there could be any type of bacteria or an infection in there, because it would heal improperly and, you know, there would be scar tissue. So I at least knew I wanted to keep the hole open until the next day when the pediatrician could look at it, so that we could potentially get medicine in the ear. So the earring has to go back in. So, but my hands are shaking so bad, and I'm trying really hard to hold it together. And, you know, I'd always hoped that in a moment of little crisis like that, you know, my mommy instinct or autopilot would kick in and I'd be steady as can be. That was not the case. My face was staying composed, but my hands were shaking. And I have to get this little tiny earring into this little tiny ear. At this point, Q is over nursing, so she is like, I need y'all to leave me alone. So she's not really cooperating. It's just a really stressful situation. I clean the ears. I'm able, you know, to take a deep breath, steady my hand enough to slide the earring right back in, put it back on, and then she was fine. She was smiling and happy, like it wasn't even bothering her, but I just became a puddle of mush. I was so traumatized for a few reasons. A, my baby is hurt. Even though she wasn't acting hurt, in my brain I'm like, my baby is hurt. B, I'm having super mommy regret and guilt for changing out the earrings. Life was great when the piercing studs were in. Why did I ever have to change the earrings? I got so wrapped up in being excited about it being her half birthday, and that I didn't think clearly, and I made what I now realize was a really stupid mistake. But I felt really bad that I was just rubbing her back, trying to get her to go back to sleep. Like, I was like, what kind of mom just had her baby lay there in pain? I was horrible, horrible mommy guilt. You know, thankfully, Daddy talked me off the ledge. He's like, you didn't realize she was in pain. You're a good mom. You kept attending to her. You stayed there. You persevered until she felt better. And, you know, thank God for him, or else I probably would have needed to be committed. I was like, what, I need to call the pediatrician right now. He's like, no, it'll be fine. She's completely fine. We can wait until morning. So he's able to talk me off the ledge. Q went right back to sleep. Everything was fine. I kept checking the ear throughout the night with my flashlight, and it looked great. It stopped bleeding, and if I hadn't been there and seen what had just happened, I would have thought that the ear was completely fine. So, managed to go to bed. Q sleeps brilliantly. She doesn't wake up until 7 the next morning. I, of course, wake up numerous times to go in and check on her. And then I start just waiting. I'm like, okay, the pediatrician's office isn't open until 8:30. It's 7:15. I start having like a countdown. I'm texting my husband while he's at work. I'm like, T-minus 39 minutes until I can call. So finally 8:30 rolls around. I call the pediatrician. At this point, Q seems totally fine, but I know that there's that bump back there, and I know that that bump means something isn't right. So I call the pediatrician. They agree that she should come in, and so I bring her in. The doctor looks at it and says, you know, there is a little infection. The pediatrician could barely notice the bump that I had found, but did agree that there was a little one, that we should tend to it. Doesn't really want to do an oral antibiotic, gives me a topical and tells me, you put it on 3 times a day. Just take the earring out, put some on the post, and pop the earring back in. And I just look at her like, you really think it's that easy with a squirming baby? So now I'm like, great, I have to try and find a way 3 times a day to get my baby to cooperate while I take the earring out, clean the ears, get medicine on the post, and get the earring back in, which I'm not really great at, hence the whole problem. So that was kind of traumatizing, but we got home. Q's been surprisingly very cooperative. I nurse her. I'm able to get the earring off, clean them up, put the medicine on, get them back in, and she's been happy as can be. So crisis averted, not that big of a deal, but for this mommy, it was a huge deal. I was exhausted from just, I think, the emotional stress of it all, and that, and probably being up all night checking on my baby, you know, anxiously waiting for the pediatrician to open and getting there and dealing with it. So yesterday resulted in doing absolutely nothing. Typically, I try to have Mondays be my productive day where I get the house all clean and ready for the week, and none of that happened. When the baby napped, I sat and I watched TMZ and I ate ice cream, and that's how I got through the day. But today's a new day. Q is feeling better. I survived my first mini medical emergency, and I am glad that I have it out of the way. I am sure that I've barely dented the surface and things that I will have to deal with throughout her life. But I'm glad that this one is behind me, and I just wanted to share it with you all. Thank you so much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed it. If you want to watch more, check out one of my other videos and subscribe to my page. I'm also really active on other social media outlets, so please follow me on Instagram and Twitter. You can click on the links on my page or search me using @officialthatmom. Thank you again so much for watching, and always remember, don't be afraid to be that mom. I'll see you next time. Bye.